Who is?
Hello and welcome to Wrestling Jeopardy, the
Hello.
ultimate pro wrestling trivia challenge where you're the contestant. I'm your host, Kevin J. Callis.
Yeah!
And are you ready to load the spaceship with the rocket fuel and blast off into this episode? Well, go ahead and grab that pen and paper and let's go to the board now and check
How
out the
about coffee?
categories you'll be quizzed on, starting with the WWE Cookbook,
Pastamania.
followed by
Oh,
video games,
Okay.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated Awards,
Okay.
NXT Factions,
Uh,
and last but certainly not least, name that podcast host.
I might do better than last week.
And of course, that sound means it's time to play the game. So let's kick things off with the 200-point jobber round. Can you answer all 5 of these questions correctly, or will you completely embarrass yourself? All right, let's see what you're cooking with and start off with the WWE Cookbook for 200. There's no way you can't see these Technicolor treats named after this wrestler.
What are Fruity Pebbles? Which by the time this comes out, we'll have had a full John Cena heel promo with Cody Rhodes. That'll be happening as of this recording tomorrow.
And that would be, what are John Cena's Fruity
You can
Pebbles
see me.
treats?
Fruity Pebbles! The chop is here!
Moving on to video games. For
All
two.
right.
What is the name of the popular WWF video game shown here?
That would be No Mercy.
One of my personal favorite games of all time. What is WWF?
No mercy.
WrestleMania 2000 is the only other guess, and that's not what I guessed, only because that was the first one, and it's more polygonal than No Mercy. No Mercy is a lot smoother looking.
That
So,
brings us to
you didn't need to know
PWI
that.
Awards for 200. This Nature Boy has won the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Wrestler of the Year award a record 6 times.
Who is Ric Flair? It can't be Buddy Rogers.
Recognizing the best professional wrestler of the year, Ric Flair has won this award a record 6 times and remains the only wrestler with more than 3 wins. And we're on to NXT Factions. For
Now, these are great
200.
videos, bud.
What was the name of the NXT faction that consisted of Adam Cole, baby, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong?
It's not the one. God, I'm going to kick myself for not knowing this. I can see them all coming out to it now. Nah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know it. I can see them.
All right, let's see if I can do it. There's the U. And let me do a West Coast turn it
Undisputed Era.
into an E.
I'm going to be completely honest. I love it.
Who were the Undisputed Era?
Does that count? He
And
didn't
let's
say the
finish
answer.
up
Does it
the
count?
200-point round with name that
It counts.
podcast host.
All
What
right.
former wrestler's podcast is called 6 Feet Under?
Mark Calloway. Who is Mark Calloway, a.k.a. The Undertaker?
And that would be, who is Mark Calloway, a.k.a. The Undertaker?
Word for verbatim word, baby.
Unimportant.
All right, we're jumping back into the
You watch the
kitchen
next one be
for
83
a
weeks.
clue worth 400 from the WWE Cookbook. Layer upon layer of chips, chili, and cheese are a tower of power, too sweet to be sour in this recipe.
I don't know.
Now, these nachos are also topped off with cut-up Slim Jims, making this the cream of the crop of drunken food, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You will eat this appetizer and you will like it. Ooh, yeah, what are the Nacho Man Randy Savage's nachos? And that brings us to video games for 400. The SmackDown series of video games for the Sony PlayStation ended in 2003 with this title, which is often regarded as one of the greatest professional wrestling video games of all time.
2003. For the Sony PlayStation, ended in 2003. Well, it had to have been. Oh, the SmackDown series. Okay, so before they went to SmackDown versus Raw. Well, it had to been Shut Your Mouth. What is Shut Your Mouth? Because Just Bring It was before that.
And that was the fifth
Here
and
comes the
final
pain.
installment of the SmackDown series.
I can see that.
Called SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Moving on to PWI Awards for 4.
Damn it.
This brain won the now defunct Pro Wrestling Illustrated Manager of the Year award 4 times.
Who is the Weasel? Bobby the Brain Heenan.
And that would be who was Bobby the Brain Heenan. Moving on to NXT Factions for 4. What was the name of the NXT faction that included B-Fab, Top Dollar, Isaiah Swerve Scott, and Ashante The Adonis?
I have no idea who any of these people are.
And the answer we're looking for here, who was Hit Row? And let's finish up the 400-point round.
This is the 83 weeks
Name
question.
that podcast host. 83 Weeks
Oh,
is the
God.
name of the podcast.
No effing way. Sorry, bud. I could read you like a freaking book, dude.
Hosted by this former wrestling executive.
Who is Eric Bischoff? Co-host Conrad Thompson. I read you like a damn
83
book,
weeks
man.
is in reference to the amount of time that WCW Nitro defeated Monday Night Raw. 83 weeks in a row. The correct answer here, who is Eric Bischoff? All right, 10 questions down, 15 to go, plus the...
Okay, let's read you again. The next one is what happened when? Would he go with that? 2 WCWs in a row? Or would he go something to wrestle with? There's a bunch. I'm going to say either one of those two, but I'm leaning towards what happened when. You sly dog. You think you get one over? You think you can get one over the Bradster? I'm not doing that.
The Daily Double and Final Jeopardy. If you're having a good time, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button and also the ringy-dingy notification icon bell.
Do it.
So you get notified whenever we come out.
Click off this right now and go do it. You need to be watching his stuff before you watch me, okay? That's the rule around here. You play the game, and then you watch me play the game.
With a brand new episode of Wrestling Jeopardy, presented, of course, by Wrestle Trivia.
That's cool.
And let's go to the 600-point round. Things are going to get a little bit harder. And don't even think about Googling the answers because that's just cheating. So
I
let's kick
know.
things off hot and heavy with the WWE Cookbook for 6. This meat-filled pie is exactly what the animal in your life needs to start their day.
Batista's pot pie? I don't know. No, meat-filled
Growing
pie.
up, this would have been great if I just yelled to my mom or dad and just said, "Give me what I want for breakfast." And they say, "Kev, what do you want?" I'd say, "Bakishta."
And I quit.
And we're on to video games
That's about right.
for
All
600. There's the Daily Double. It's coming a little bit earlier than usual, but that's cool. Once again, the category is video games.
That's the beauty of it. It
Think
could be
about how
anywhere.
much you know about wrestling video games and place your wager right about now.
Oh, I love it.
All right, time is up. Let's go to the clue. Released in the fall of 1998, this WCW NWO game became the best-selling wrestling game for the Nintendo 64 console.
And I got it for Christmas that year. What is WCW NWO Revenge? Love that game.
And the correct answer
I have it here
that
somewhere.
would be, what is WCW NWO Revenge? And we're moving on to what is WCW
One of these things is not like the others. One of these things.
NWO
One of these things is Raven.
Revenge. And we're moving on to PWI awards for 6. Medusa Michelli was the first female wrestler to win this Pro Wrestling Illustrated award.
Well, it has to do something with. Is that the same Medusa? Someone with throwing away the belt on live TV.
No, it wasn't. Women's Wrestler of the Year.
Oh, it was
In
Rookie of the Year,
1988,
okay.
Medusa won the Rookie of the Year award.
Oh,
And we're on to NXT Factions for
for God's
6.
sake.
What was the name of the NXT faction featuring Joe Gacy, Ava Raine, James Drake, aka Jagger Reed, and Zach Gibson, aka Rip Fowler?
I don't know these people.
Yes, with their creepy masks. The correct answer here, who was the Schism?
Never seen them
And we're
before.
finishing up the 600-point round. What wrestler is part of the podcast?
He went WCW, but I went completely the opposite way. I went commentary way. This is Kevin. Who is Kevin Nash?
Known as Click This.
Tell me you're going to do that. You're looking at him. I'm next.
2 sweets. That would be who is Kevin Nash. And here comes the 800-point
man.
round. You need to know your facts, your figures, and your trivia if you want to ace the 800-point round. Starting
not
off
gonna know
with
this.
the WWE Cookbook. This iconic shrimp cocktail is a showstopper as either a starter or a main event dish.
It's something with Shawn Michaels, obviously.
Now, I bet you didn't know this, but this actually pairs really, really well with some sweet chimichurri music sauce. Anyone? Bueller?
Hey.
The correct answer here. What is Prawn Michaels? Don't at me, bro. I didn't write that. Okay, actually, I did write it. So, I apologize.
Well, that
Moving on to video
That
games. for
that makes it
8.
better.
In the arcade game WWF Superstars, players compete as a tag team, and after 3 matches are won, you get to challenge this team in the final round.
See, I never played the arcade games. They were always crowded. That, Mortal Kombat, The Simpsons, Star Wars, Ninja Turtles. I always got to play the crappy games.
And that would be who is the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Andre the Giant, also known as the Mega Bucks.
I'll put you to sleep with my $1 million dream.
And let's move on
Alrighty
to
then.
PWI Awards for 8. As of 2023, John Cena and this wrestler have the most appearances at number 1 in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500 with 3.
Most appearances at number 1 in the PWI. Have the most appearances at number 1? AJ Styles? I'm not answering. I'm going to say AJ Styles, but that's not an official answer.
He's a visionary. He's an
Oh.
architect. He's Seth freaking Rollins. And Seth appeared at number 1 in the PWI 500 in 2015, 2019, and again in 2023.
Okay.
What do you say we go to NXT factions for
How about we know?
800? What was the name of the NXT faction that included Mei Ying, Xia Li, and Boa?
I don't know. That was terrible.
And that would be who was
天煞。
And let's close out the 800-point round with Name That Podcast host. What wrestler hosts the Art of Wrestling podcast?
The Art of Wrestling. Is that Meltzer's podcast? Or is that Russo's? It's got to be Meltzer, right?
And that would be none other than Boom Boom him.
Why did I not know that? You talk about being a CM Punk fan and listening to that a few years ago. How in the hell could I forget that?
Himself, who is Colt Cabana.
Hey, generico numero uno. Your promos suck. Really? I think good.
And we've reached the most difficult round in Wrestling Jeopardy, the 1,000-point round. These questions are designed to take you on a journey through wrestling history. So if you fancy yourself a wrestling trivia aficionado, well, you better get your thinking cap on because this round is designed to put your knowledge to the test. So let's start off the 1,000-point round with a clue from the WWE Cookbook.
Oh, I ain't getting this.
This recipe is the quintessential cocktail for the quintessential living legend.
The only clue I have is living legend is
See what you got to do. You take 2 ounces of
Tabasco.
gin, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, and then you got to make sure you get 3 Italian olives, and you get none other than what is a Bruno San Martini. And that brings us to the final clue from video games. The centerpiece of this horror-themed downloadable content pack, or DLC pack for you gamers out there, for WWE 2K20 was the playable character of The Fiend.
Wait, what? The centerpiece of this horror-themed DLC pack was the playable character of the Fiend. What is the Wyatt pack? I don't understand the question.
Plagued by a ton of technical issues, the much maligned WWE
Oh,
2K20
okay.
is full of
See, I
bugs
never
and
got 2020
glitches,
because I
but the
heard it was shit.
Halloween-themed Bump in the Night
Crap.
DLC pack
PG.
did give gamers the chance
I don't
to
even know if
play
that's
with
PG.
the hottest act in wrestling at the time, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Now let's move on to the final
Such a
clue
shame. We
from
had to pass.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated Awards. This superstar has won the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Match of the Year award a record 11 times, including a 4-year win streak from 1993 to 1996, and then a 7-year win streak from 2004 to 2010.
93 to 96. Match of the year. That's not Mysterio. It's 2010. Who is Shawn Michaels? It has to be.
And a special thanks to Scott Decker, who gave this little gem to everyone during the live stream I did a little while ago. If you're watching the live stream, then maybe you would remember that the correct
makes the
answer
most
here
sense.
is none other than the Heartbreak Kid,
93 to
Shawn
96, and then that long
Michaels,
break from
not
2000.
Shawn
Prawn Michaels.
And we're on to the final clue from NXT
I use my context clues.
Factions. What was the name of the NXT faction that included Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and Oney Lorcan?
I don't know.
And these guys were unofficially, or maybe officially, called the Kings of NXT. And let's close out the board with the final clue from Name That Podcast host. What former WWF on-air personality hosts the podcast called Primetime?
I've never heard of that podcast. Former host. I don't know. You got me there, bud.
And that would be the man, the myth, the legend, who is Sean Mooney. All right, don't quit now. It's time for Final Jeopardy.
Why not?
Let's find out what
Did
this
horrible.
episode's category
What?
is. Huh, would you look at that? I Quit matches. There have been a ton of these all through the years, so just kind of put that in your noodle, think about that, and place your wager right now.
Everything.
All right, time is up. Here is the Final Jeopardy clue from I Quit matches. This wrestler is the only person to compete in I Quit matches for 3 different companies: the NWA, ECW, and WCW.
I Quit. Well, that rules out Mick Foley. That rules out Steve Austin. NWA, ECW is the key here. Who is Terry Funk?
Good luck. Having first wrestled in an I Quit match back in 1975, Terry Funk became synonymous with this special stipulation and arguably competed in the greatest I Quit match ever versus Ric Flair at Clash of the Champions 9, New York Knockout in 1989. And that does it for this episode of Wrestling Jeopardy. If you like what you saw, make sure you watch all of our other videos that you can check out here, and leave a comment.
It'll be in
with
my
your score.
description.
Did you learn anything new?
You should have
Did
watched this
break a
before you
personal
watched
record?
me,
And as
but that's
always,
okay.
My name is Kevin J. Callis.
Go throw him a subscription,
And
yeah.
I'll see you next time.
Yeah, go throw the man a subscription and a like and a share and do all the things. That man works hard for his videos.